Listen, first and foremost, this is all my opinion. I'll give you a 30,000-foot overview of who I am and why I believe I'm qualified to share this message. I am going to require this to be interactive. So I see I have a couple of students front and center. You are definitely going to participate. But don't worry, so are the adults. So they're not off the hook either. And because I believe that this is also my second time in, I do believe that because of the intimacy of this, and look, there could be 200 people here. The presentation, the messaging, the interaction, it would be the same. But I will begin this by at least acknowledging that whether it is your athletic director, your principal, the folks that run the booster club, the superintendent and the administration in general, they bring me in to strengthen a message that at their core they truly believe in. And just because it's the principal or the guidance counselor or the athletic director and you don't like what they have to say, it doesn't mean that their opinion is not the right one. Again, these are just opinions. We'll talk about some facts. There are some things that are 100% factual, because stats don't lie. But in terms of what their effort is in this process to assist you, I see too many parents, because it's hard to blame the student athlete, that because it's not what they want to hear, it's take my ball, go home, blame everyone else, take zero accountability. And it really puts athletic directors, not to say it's specifically Mr. Burrow, but people like him, guidance too, really in a remarkable disadvantage, and it's disappointing to me. So, we are going to start this with a round of applause. Okay? Now, I'm a different guy, okay? This is going to be a little bit different than you probably came in thinking you'd hear. Any idea who that round of applause was for? Exactly. It is for you. Do you know why? Because how many students go to this school? 500. Okay, there are probably plenty of people that play sports. And every time I pull up, including 15 minutes late, there's a parent picking up a student athlete and driving away. And if I had the time, and quite frankly, the guts to knock on that car door or that window and say, hey, do you want to play in college? I'll argue the chances of that answer being yes is high. Well, why aren't you in the library? How come you're not a part of this presentation? And the answer is really simple. They got it all figured out. They already know. Their kid's getting a full scholarship, athletic, mind you. They're not here. That round of applause is for you because you want to be educated. For the moms and dads, you are truly doing this in the best interest of your son and daughter. And as somebody who represents major leaguers, who has the chance to be around literally the best players in the game, I can't tell you how we're in an era where it's more about the parent and less about the kid. So you're here to be educated, whether you choose to agree with me, that's okay. Because at least you're getting something, and I promise you, you will get something out of it. So who am I? I went to Yorktown. My name is Mark Leinweaver. I graduated in 1993. Our rivals were Lakeland, okay? We played at Putt Valley. I am you. I am literally one of you. I grew up here in northern Westchester. It doesn't matter if it's Putnam or Rockland or Long Island, Fairfield, Bergen, right? The tri-state area. It's all about the same. It's the same suburb of New York. The level of competition is about the same. We know who we are. There is an asterisk. It is boys and girls lacrosse. I get it. I told you. I went to Yorktown. I was a baseball player in the land of lacrosse. And quite frankly, if all those lacrosse players continued to play baseball in 7th and 8th grade through high school, I probably would have never seen the field because they were really good. But we know who we are, and it doesn't look a lot different outside of that region. So that's step one. But I've gone on to be a major league agent who represents the likes of the Yasiel Puigs and all-stars like Kirby Yates and Tommy LaStella and Hunter Pence. And our agency represented the #1 overall pick in this year's Major League Draft. His name's Adley Rutschman. We got him the highest signing bonus in the history of Major League Baseball at $8.1 million. I think I'm very qualified to talk about this topic, but I also represent a guy from Stanford who was drafted in the 37th round who signed for the minimum at $125. And we also have plenty of players that don't get drafted or choose to go the college route, and it's not always just Division I. So that coupled with 2 decades of experience in both pro ball and college athletics, I think fairly qualifies this presentation. Now, with all of that glitz and glamour, I'll say this. I don't have a master's degree in guidance counseling. I do not have some sort of advanced athletic administration degree, but I have a PhD. It is in common sense, and that is all this presentation is. It is literally common sense. So I'm going to prove a couple of those common sense theories. The first one is, I want to see all the students' hands. All the students, raise your hand. Okay, so there's a good attendance of the student athletes. The good news for the students and the better news for the parents is that you are all going to go out and be able to talk to the other student athletes and the parents about what they missed tonight. Okay? For all of those students, before I even get to these statistics, I want you to answer a question for me. I'm going to give you two options, option A and option B. That's going to be a theme through the night. Option A, you have to choose one of these two. I'm a college coach and I say to you, congratulations, you've made our team. Here's your uniform. You've made our roster. There's the end of the bench, because you are here exclusively to be a practice player. You are here to make our starters better. You're going to see no time as a freshman or a sophomore. You'll get some garbage time as a junior. We'll give you a token start for the effort as a senior. That's option A. Option B is we expect you to come in and compete as a freshman. Start as a sophomore, a regular lineup by the time you're a junior. By the time you get out here as a senior, you might be an all-time record holder. You might be the team captain. You may have gone to multiple postseasons. That's option B. Who's taking option A? Who's taking option B? It's unanimous. Every one of these student athletes have been here for less than 10 minutes. Every one of these students, your children, mom and dad, just told me that they want to play Division II and Division III. And so I have to ask, who wants to play Division I more? Is it the student or is it mom and dad? Because these kids just told me where they want to play their college athletics. So to have this idea, this notion that D1, forget about it being easy, that's where my son or daughter wants to play, I just proved to you that that's not where they want to play. And here's why. These aren't opinions, these are facts. These are the percentages of high school athletes who earn a spot on a men's or women's Division I team. Less than 3% for football, water polo, field hockey, lacrosse, golf, swimming, track, soccer, and cross country. Less than 2% for baseball, softball, and tennis, and less than 1% for basketball, wrestling, and volleyball. Any ice hockey players here? No? That's 5%. You would have had the best chance of playing D1. Now, I didn't say anything about a scholarship. I said make the team, earn a spot, get a jersey, be on the roster. That was option A. So we were talking about 1 to 3% of the athletic playing population that will make a Division I team and look like option A. Here's the most sobering statistic you're going to hear all night. Those are the D1 possibilities. The statistic to get an athletic scholarship is half of that. So we're talking 0.5 to 1.5% of the population for any one of those sports is getting an athletic scholarship. And when I talk about a Division I athletic scholarship, I'm not necessarily referring to Syracuse or Clemson or Florida State. I'm talking about schools like Rider or Siena. Probably schools you never heard of like St. Francis of Pennsylvania. Those are Division I too. Those are equally as hard because they fall into that Division I statistical athletic scholarship category. So the next time we want to scoff at, well, I'll just play D2 or I'll just play D3, maybe we shouldn't scoff, and here's why. I just read you a dozen sports. I'm going to use baseball because baseball has the highest probability of success. There are 130,000 high school seniors playing baseball coast to coast, from New York to California. Of those 130,000, 9,800 of them will go on to play at a four-year college. They will go from being a freshman in high school, they will go from being a senior in high school to being a freshman at a four-year school. 9,800 for Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA, which is a collegiate classification predominantly in the Midwest, combined. Combined. So that means, if we're doing the stats, that is 7.5% of the high school seniors that will go on to a four-year college. 7.5% will play D1, 2, 3, and NAIA combined. Better way to make that point is 92.5% or more, because baseball's got the highest chances, will not play at a four-year school regardless of division. I am not here to scare you and doom and gloom you. I am here to at least share with you that if we are going to take a $100,000 to $150,000 to upwards of $250,000 four-year investment in their college education, I hope we have more common sense, a PhD in it, than just taking some coach outside of Buffalo at some D3 program that tells our daughter that they can start at goalie as a sophomore, that we put a little more effort and credence into that college decision-making process. And oh, by the way, the most accomplished athletic feat to your young life to date will be making the worst Division III team as the worst Division III player in the country. It will be so hard. Let's start with the fact that you will be a 17 or 18-year-old freshman playing against 20 and 21-year-old men and women who are 4 years older than you. They are adults, 21 and over, and they are going to do everything they can to embarrass you, to beat you, because they are not going to be shown up by some freshman. It will be the biggest athletic jump you will ever face. I don't care if you played varsity as an 8th grader. That is real life, real world. And I always end this presentation the same way. It's literally right here, so I don't forget. I'm going to give you a scenario at the end of this where you earn a Division I scholarship. And I'm going to ask every single person in this room, should they take that D1 scholarship, or should they take the school that we created as a group, as what I think will probably be a much better fit for these young men and women. So, our topics tonight are going to cover how you get recruited, as I see it. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about phones. We're going to talk about how those phones are actually weapons. They're not phones. We're going to talk about volunteering in the community, because I'm going to give you an option A and an option B, but we're going to talk about how these students, okay, mom and dad, they have 3 responsibilities. If they don't want to listen after I go through these 3 responsibilities for the rest of the presentation, frankly, that's fine by me, because it's not for them, it's for mom and dad. Their job is very, very simple. Job 1, they got to be the best athlete they can be. They got to bust their butt on the field and off the field. Obviously in game situations, practice situations, off-season workout situations, they control that. They control how much work they put in, how they get bigger, how they get faster, how they get stronger, and what the results are on the field. They control that. They take those same principles and they apply it in the classroom. I don't care if it's in tests, if it's homework, if it's extra like credit type of things, if it's showing up early, staying late, getting them tutors, ACT, SAT, taking them, they're struggling in physics, great. Find them a way to get them better. They have to do that work. And the part that gets overlooked the most, in my opinion, is they need to put down the Fortnite. They need to put down the FIFA. And they need to get out of their homes and off of this campus, and they need to contribute to society. These young men and women are challenged communicating. They cannot hold a conversation. We'll get to that as it relates to the recruiting process in a little bit, but to get them out of this building and out of your home and volunteering with special needs kids. Volunteering, they love animals, ASPCA. I know where we are. You know, Peekskill's right down the road. The resources in Peekskill, those are a lot of not-for-profit organizations. Have them volunteer there. They need volunteers to help out, to referee, to coach, to run the clock. Get them involved and make them better people. Those are their 3 jobs. After that, in my opinion, they don't have a whole lot to do with this process, because their talent will plateau. Their talent will get them exposed. Their talent will get them recruited. And there's a reason I'm putting quotes on. The rest of this is for mom and dad. It truly is. And I'm going to prove that. So let's get into it. Okay, this is where class participation is. We're going to start right here, and I love the pink. I love the pink panther. All right? I don't know about the carcinogens, about all that stuff that you used to line your attic with, but nevertheless, that's for my era, not yours. Okay. Mr. Pink Panther, you've got your sheet in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Read for me what number 1 says.
Right, in student body size.
What do you think that means? There's no wrong answer.
How you are for, like, if you're playing quarterback, you'd rather be tall.
It has nothing to do with athletics. So I already said this school is how big? 500-600 people? Student body size. What do you think if I'm thinking about a school?
Amount of people.
Exactly. Simple. Amount of people. Now, mom and dad, part of what I'm doing, I told you, I got a kid that was drafted in the 37th round this year, chose to sign for 125 versus take a scholarship to a college. I have to go to lunch at an Applebee's in Johnson City, Tennessee, and hold a conversation with this 17-year-old kid. Okay? It's challenging. especially when they know that it's respectful to put down their phone and engage with your agent for the 45 minutes we're going to be there. I get it's hard to extract information from these kids. I do. And I say kids because remember, they're kids. So part of our interaction, starting right here, is going to be teaching maybe how to line some of these questions up. So what's your first name?
Chris.
You already answered it correctly, Chris. It's how many people? So I'm going to show you what a college looks like. Because none of you have probably been in a college class. You've never been in a lecture hall. So I want you to imagine it, okay? I want you from that wall to that wall, imagine all the way back to the windows that every single seat is taken. That there are 150 or 200 chairs in here filled with students. And I'm the professor up here in front of a whiteboard going through a 70-minute presentation. This ain't 43-minute algebra where you can text your way through or take a nap. Your learning environment just doubled. It's going to be 70 minutes, 3 times a day, 3 times a week. Totally different than what you're used to. So, would you rather, option A or option B? This is for all the students. Would you rather be in the learning environment that has 150 or 200 students, where everybody is dialed into the professor? I'm not going to slow down because you have a question in the back, because I have to educate 199 others. And if I do say, yeah, what's your question? You better be prepared to have 199 faces turn and look at you and be on point to ask that professor that question. That's learning option A. Learning option B can be exactly where we are right now. It is 25, 30, 40, 50 seats. These are all your classmates, and I'm the same professor. You have a question? Well, that's interesting. What do you think about that, William? Emily, you want to weigh in on that opinion? It is a totally different learning environment. Same 70 minutes, and this isn't going to be once or twice or 3 times a week. This is for 4 years, gang. 4 years. How many people want the huge lecture hall with 200 strangers? That's option A. How many people want the environment that you're in right now? We have our second unanimous answer. These students just told me that they want a school that's less than 7,000 students. It doesn't have to be Stonehill where I went that had 2,200, but it's also not Cortland State that's got 25,000. We're going to call it 7,000 or so, okay? We know how big of a school we're looking for. Good job, Chris. Okay, next to him. Read for me number 2.
Comfortable proximity from home.
What do you think that means? SAT, ACT word, proximity. What do you got on that? What's that mean?
How far you want to
How far? How close? It's funny, all the students always say how far. As far away from mom and dad as possible. They don't say how close to home, they say how far from home. That's a theme, and it doesn't matter if I'm talking in Michigan or if I'm in California. So, how far from Putnam Valley do I want to be? Okay, now, that could range. You can go out to Long Island, a couple of hours. You can go up to New England, Boston, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont. That's a few more hours. Syracuse, down to Baltimore, right? So the same way we said to these students, do you want a huge lecture hall or do you want something a little more intimate? They were able to make a determination based on what that looked like. So let's play this out. Anybody want to get on a plane and go pretty far away? Because I did. I was convinced I was going to Florida. Where do you want to go?
I don't really know. I would like to go to a different state or farther away.
But you raised your hand to a plane.
Yeah.
I flew in yesterday. I took off at 5:30 in the morning and I landed at 2. The flight was 5 hours, and it's faster going from west to east than it is to east to west. It's 6 hours to fly from New York to LA. Okay? You add the time zone change, then you land at a major airport, the traffic, trying to get to where you're going. It's a 10 or a 12-hour day. So the 5-6 hour flight across the country is not as long as, let's say, the 2-hour flight down to, I don't know, South Carolina, or the 3-hour flight down to Orlando, right?
Yeah.
So, again, putting real life, real world context to this, how far, if you did get on a plane, do you have a perfect state or somewhere you'd want to go? Okay, these are real answers. He's not sure. So, did somebody else raise their hand? That, they knew where they wanted to go when I said if you wanted to go to school on a plane? Okay. So, I gave a presentation once and the student raised their hand. They just told me they wanted a school that was going to be less than 7,000. Then I said, okay, well, where do you want to go? She goes, Louisiana. I said, what school? She goes, I want to go to LSU. There's going to be 7,000 people in the freshman class alone at Louisiana State, okay? But just using that example, I am a huge believer in this process. Money's always a factor. You're not up against money. You're up against time. Your ability to make time to go on these visits and trips while you're running your everyday life as it is now, which is hectic enough, that's going to be your enemy. So what I would say is, look, Southwest has got a great deal. Southwest, as you book your flight, you decide to cancel it, you get to hang on to that credit for a year without any type of penalty. Book a flight. Drag these kids out of bed at 4 in the morning. Get them down to JFK, to Newark, at 5:36. Make them go through TSA, which could take 90 minutes. Get them on that flight, which if you're flying Southwest, you're going to stop in Baltimore on your way to Atlanta. You're going to stop in Chicago on your way to LA. So if you want to spend the $200 or $300 on JetBlue, it's more of a nonstop flight, fine. It's still going to be a 6, 8, 10, 12-hour day. That is what the travel alone is going to be like. Now you get to wherever you are, I don't care. Go visit a campus. You want to go to Orlando? Go check out, I don't know, Stetson. Or go check out Rollins College. Stetson's D1, Rollins is D2. I'm sure you can find a D3 over there. I don't really care about the campus. I'm talking about the trip. Because when you do that and you travel all day, they're going to be spent. Then they wake up the next day, they do whatever they want, and the following day, you're coming back. You know what that's called? That's called coming home for the weekend. That's what it looks like. So this is not going to be one recruiting trip. This is going to be 5, 6, 7 times your freshman year alone. 4, 5, 6 times your sophomore year. 3, 4, 5 times your junior year. Maybe you come home once or twice your senior year. That's 20 trips over 4 years. Not only is that coming home to spend 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 hours with your friends and your family, when you have to fly in a lot different than if you were driving 3.5 hours from Boston, but it's an expense. And you know, if you want to fly across the country or to Florida last minute because he or she's homesick, because they want to come home, because the Yankees, I guess I'm pretty fortunate that the Yankees lost because I'm not up against them tonight. But the Yankees and somebody scored tickets to the World Series, your girlfriend won Jonas Brothers tickets, yeah, you're not going to be able to fly in from Atlanta to do that. But you could drive down from Boston and probably make that show on this trip. I'm not saying that's what determines how far away, but that's a real life, real world. If they think they want to get on a plane and they think they want to do it, remind them this isn't once. It's going to be 20 times over 4 years. And it might not be as glamorous anymore. Opposed to, which is a lot more realistic, especially in this region, where there are so many schools to choose from, of all of the students, raise your hand. How many people have been to the Boston area? How many people have been to the Syracuse area? How many people have been to the Philadelphia area? How many people have been to the Baltimore area? Okay, it's a lot of hands. You've driven 3.5, 4 hours to Boston, to Syracuse, to Philly, to Baltimore, which to me is Delaware, even Washington, D.C. You have driven to 4 very different regions. I always like to ask the students, if you got in a car ride, I don't care if it's like some sort of showcase up in Syracuse or just a family vacation down to the Jersey Shore, and everybody in that car gets in and you get on to the Taconic and you're off and running, and nobody has a Mophie and nobody has a cell phone charger. And that battery is going to run out at some point. At what point in that trip has that student been like, I got to get out of this car? Because they ain't playing the license plate game like we used to play. Okay? But it'll give you maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. It will put real life, real world context. Does anybody have an idea if they want to stay in the Northeast to go to school? Anybody want to stay in the Northeast region? You do. Do you have a particular area? I just gave you Boston. I gave you Central New York. I gave you the Philadelphia area. I gave you Greater Baltimore. Do you have a preference? Okay. How about you? Anybody else? No preferences, right? So you're open-minded enough. But if you want to stay in the Northeast, I'm considering that 4 hours. You can get up to Oswego and Oneonta in 4 hours. Oneonta's got 6,600 students, right? That fits our criteria. Oneonta is less than 4 hours with 6,600 students. Means it's less than 7,000. They could be a school on our list. Stonehill, 3.5 hours, where I went. 2,500 students, a little smaller, but I've been to both campuses. Stonehill's campus is far more sprawling. For a school with 4,000 less students, it's bigger than Oneonta's campus. Get them out there. But the first 2 parts of the profile that we need to create, and I know everybody's like, I came here to hear a lecture about recruiting. Well, I promise you we'll get there. Because if any one of you wanted to go buy an SUV, didn't matter if you were going to go buy a Tahoe or a Denali, if you were going to go buy a Ford Explorer, and you were going to go spend $75,000 on a new SUV, but you didn't have a preference, Chevy, Ford, Jeep, whatever, you would go through that car buying experience at painstaking nauseum, wearing out, sales rep after sales rep. I don't like the way the interior looks on Tuesdays after 4:30 when it's cloudy when I'm stuck on the Taconic, so this car's out. You'll just dismiss those options like that, but when we're talking 4 or 5 times that amount of money to put their college education at risk, you know, we're just throwing it to the first coach that gives us attention. You know, where are the priorities? So, if we do go buy that car, we're not walking in and just taking the keys off the shelf and saying we'll be back in an hour. They're going to check your credit. Can you actually purchase this car? Do you have the money? They're going to run your license. Do you have accidents, DUIs, speeding tickets? They're not just going to hand you the keys. They're going to be what's called pre-qualify you. What we are doing in this recruiting process, with 2 more steps before we get to recruiting ourselves, we're pre-qualifying. That is crucial. Crucial. What are we looking for? Chris, what are we looking for? How big of a school?
7,000.
And you were my first guy to answer. What's your first name?
Anthony.
Anthony. How many hours from home? Under what? What did we say?
4.
How many? Under 4 hours. We got the first steps to this process. When I tell you that there are dozens, arguably as many of 100 or more schools that fit that criteria, it's a buyer's market, mom and dad. You want to say that agents like me are the problem in professional sports, driving up the ticket prices and everything else? Sure, you have that argument. I consider that's a business. You know what else is a business? Education. You're still going to pay for them to play. That is a fact. $150,000, $200,000, $250,000. I don't care if you're getting loans. I don't care if you're getting financial aid. I don't care if you're winning scholarships. You are still funding their education. That is a business. So if we are going to make a business investment, no different than that car, could be an investment. You were going to go buy a $200,000 property that you were going to flip and rent. That is still more than what you're going to pay for these kids to go to school over 4 years. And we're only talking about if you have 1 student. My guess is there are a decent number of families. They're going to have a few people go through this process. So we got the 2 big parts. Yes?
So the same student that's sitting, maybe in this row, has said they want to be in a small school, but yet when we walk out of here, goes, but I really want to go to Oregon. Do you get on that plane and go to Oregon and be like, okay, so this is what Oregon looks like, as opposed to, it's certainly not 7,000 students.
I will tell you that I'm not trying to spend your money, but that flight to Oregon is going to be a long one. That campus is going to be a city. And I don't think you have to go to Oregon. You can go to Syracuse. You can go out to Pitt. You can go to a dozen schools. That wouldn't be nearly as far, but if you have the time and the resources, sure. I mean, look, we all spend our money. And I'll jump ahead to the end here when I criticize the families that are spending at least $10,000 on showcases and private instructors and between the lodging and the food and the entry fees. And you guys, probably as a group, you have individually spent at least $10,000 if you added up all the receipts over the last 5 or so years. You know, if that trip to Oregon is going to be a $700 round trip investment, like, why not? Go show them. Because it also, in my opinion, it takes away from that doubt of like, what if? You know, and by the same token, I'm giving you examples. Your Stonehill's 25 and your Oneonta's 6,600. You know, the number of people in that experience, sometimes it's a little too small, even though we're talking under 7,000. So I do. You have time. You have so much more time than you realize. We just always find excuses not to make time. For this, for plenty of things, but especially this. So I would say sure. I would say sure. But for our purposes, we know. Now, here comes, I'm going to warn everyone. This is a curveball trick question. I want to see how many people are going to be honest. I'm a college coach, and you're at a showcase in Providence, Rhode Island. And I don't care if it's lacrosse, volleyball, baseball, tennis, whatever. And I say to you after that showcase, you were the best player on the field. I couldn't take my eyes off you. You were all over the court, the pool, the track, whatever. we'd love to have you come visit our school. We're not a D1. I'm going to just tell you, we're not a D1 school, but we absolutely have a place where you could come play. We love you. Your position is graduating in a year, so it's perfect timing. How many people would consider that recruited? Would you consider that being recruited? I'm literally the only person in the room that thinks that being recruited. To me, that's 100% being recruited. Why are you at the showcase? To get discovered. So coach discovered you.
Isn't it? It's still being recruited, but I don't know. It sounded like part of my French, but you're like.
In what sense?
Like you're like, oh my God, you're so great, and you're so this, and there's so few people here, and I don't even know if you're going to be the coach at that school in another year.
You got to come give this presentation with it, because this is all the point. You're absolutely right. And if they're saying that to your kid, how many other kids are they saying that to? We have to be aware of this. And this is a non-scholarship Division III school. Here comes the reveal. Coach, that's awesome. I'd love to come visit. Can you tell me a little bit about your school? Absolutely. We're located in Buffalo. I promise you it's going to take longer than 4 hours to drive to Buffalo. Okay? You're in Buffalo. Our student body undergrad is 12,000 students. Okay? Honestly. We're looking for 7,000 within 4 hours. This school is 7 hours away with 12,000 students. We're 0 for 2 in terms of what we're looking for. Be honest with me, how many people are going on that recruiting trip? At least you're honest. There are plenty of people that are going on that. I told you we cannot fault them. They have a certain job. They love the fact that they got attention. They've been invited. This is why they're on the field. But mom and dad, we have to have more awareness to know that's a red herring. And when I say you're up against time, that trip's a waste of time. Now here's the good news. Dude, if you can play at that school, you need to know and have the confidence you're going to be able to play at a lot of schools that look like that. You're at least going to be able to play in that conference. That is a huge confidence boost. I know that I could be part of that 7.5% or less. Use that. And then, if that school, birds of a feather, if that school, which is going to be in a certain conference, maybe we start by, because so many of us don't know so many schools that exist, you know, the dozens up to 100, why don't we start by just taking that school and matching the other schools in the conference to see the ones that are less than 7,000 within 4 hours, because we might find a match. And that is just to take the first 2 parts of the criteria, to start carving out the BS. Because you need to know that these coaches, I don't care the division, they are always in the business of winning. Do you think that Division III coach in Buffalo wants to die in that chair? That guy is trying to put the best team together to move his or her career up. This is a sales job. It is a buyer's market. You know who the buyer is? You. Your money and their academics that get into any school can go to any school you want to go to. Don't lose sight of that. You're the buyer. And a lot of these coaches, I played for 3 coaches over 4 years. It happens. One got fired, one went somewhere else, and the last one that came in was the last year. So it happens. It happens. So, to that point, do not go to Buffalo. Start researching. Don't walk into the guidance office or your athletic director's office and say, so where should I go? Are you serious? I mean, you got to do some homework here. We haven't even talked about academics, right? Why are we going to college? For the education. We haven't even talked about what they're going to study. But we're all trying to start with number 5. And that's why we have a problem. And quite frankly, that is why when you run into the family, the kid, the one that was, whether a superstar player or the one that you were pretty convinced was going to play in college, you see him at the holidays at the Stop and Shop or the CVS or the bagel place, and you're like, dude, how's college? And they're like, didn't really work out. Yeah, I'm going to XYZ school, but I didn't make the team, and making every excuse in the book. And that kid, again, child, in my opinion, their life has changed forever. What they had the opportunity to potentially be a part of, because of a lack of education, a lack of preparation, honestly, on mom and dad's part, has put that kid in a position where they, quite frankly, are just not happy. And maybe they transfer. So they have to go through this again? They have to start this process all over? You already wrote a $35,000 non-refundable check to the school. I mean, this is what we're up against. But I promise, I'm going to put every single person in a position by the end of this to be able to get very recruited. So let's talk about number 3. So right here in the middle with the gray shirt. What's number 3 say on your sheet?
Has desired fields of study.
What grade are you in?
9.
You got a little ways to go. But what do you think that means? Desired fields of study. Think college. You could think about, studies in this building, but what do you think that means? When you get to college, they're going to make you pick something, right? Do you know what that's called?
Your major?
Exactly. So majors and minors. Does it have what you want to study? Does anybody in this room have an idea as to what they want to, quote, be when they grow up? What do you got?
Nurse.
What is it?
Nurse.
Nurse. So you want to go into science.
Yeah.
How do you do in science?
All right.
Is it your best subject?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the one you get your best grades in? What's the next?
English.
English. Not math, huh?
No.
Okay. So using both of your examples, right? He, the freshman, what's your name? Ryan? Ryan doesn't have to make a determination into what his major is going to be in his freshman year in high school. He certainly doesn't have to do it by his senior year in high school. He doesn't even have to do it, more times than not, until his junior year in college. So to ask a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds what they want to be when they grow up and what they want to major in could be a little risky. Because as much as Chris wants to be a nurse, which to me goes into medicine, right? He's going to need some prerequisites. He's going to study bio. He's going to study chemistry. He's going to study biochemistry. He's going to study applied sciences. And after he goes to school for 4 years, he's probably going to have to go to graduate school. But the point is, of those colleges that have 7,000 or less students within 4 hours, they're going to have bio. They're going to have chemistry. He said English. They're going to have English. They're going to have philosophy. They're going to have literature. Okay? They're going to have tons of majors to choose from. And when he comes home, Thanksgiving weekend, because he's in that class, I don't care how intimate it is, for 70 minutes in a pretty advanced science course that's going to blow New York AP Science out of the water. And he says, can you pass the mashed potatoes? I'd like to change my major. You better be ready for that curveball. But if you know he all right, well, he's kind of struggling in the chemistry, but he really likes the bio, or you know what, maybe English really spoke to him because it's a lot different than the books surrounding us, you have the ability to have the range to call the audible. At the tune of $35, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a year. So now we know what we're looking for size-wise, distance-wise, major and minor-wise. We want to find schools that have applied sciences and English. Dozens to seriously at least 100 choices still. This is my favorite question of the night. Option A, option B. This is only for the students. Okay? Next to Ryan, read for me what number 4 is.
Offers extracurricular opportunities.
What are extracurriculars? Tell me in your mind what that means.
Like other than schoolwork.
Right, things you choose to do, right? I don't even consider sports an extracurricular, right? Do I want to be a part of the student senate or the key club or the band, right? You choose to be a part of this. Well, in my mind, here's an extracurricular. All of you students, you have 2 options. Leading into those options, there is 0 parental supervision. There are no parents around. It is just all you and your best buddies. You can eat as much pizza as you want. You can just crush as much junk food and ice cream as you want. And I'm telling you, you can go on a skiing and a snowboarding trip with no parents for the entire weekend and do whatever the heck you want. You could ski, you could snowboard, you go to the mountain, you sit, you have by a fire. It's the best weekend of your life. That's option A. Option B is still no parents, all the pizza and the junk food, entire weekend, 0 supervision. But you want to be in a little bit of a warmer climate. You're not really like ski and snowboard. I'm not saying Miami Beach, but I'm saying like those warm days that you get in March when it's like 74 and everybody breaks out shorts and a tank top. And so maybe you go for a hike. Maybe you play some golf. There's a beach volleyball kind of sand court in the middle of the park, so you're going to go do that. Maybe you just want to take the chairs out front and sit outside because it's so nice, so you bring the TV out and you watch the games on Saturday. That's option B. How many people are going skiing and snowboarding? Couple. How many are going to a little bit of a warmer climate?
Is there, I don't know, option?
No. There's just those 2, but this is okay. I almost want you not to know.
It would be so
I would
dope.
do both, so it doesn't like.
I want you to not know.
Either one I'm fine with.
But these 3 in particular are really kind of setting us up for this real world scenario. So the ones that raise their hands to skiing and snowboarding. Well, if we don't know geographically in that 4-hour stretch where we want to go, I would think, Mom and Dad, now really read between the lines with my next statement. These young men and women who have really never left the bubble of Putt Valley, yeah, they're going to be exposed to their own types of extracurriculars when they get on that college campus. And you better be ready for it because it's coming. And so when they decide to get in a car with 1 or 2 or 6 or 7 of those 7,000 strangers that you've never met, because those are their new friends in their dorm rooms, and they decide to drive 4 hours to a mountain. You know, the 18-year-old kid in the new car with a bunch of strangers and new extracurriculars going on that mountain trip with or without you because they're 4 hours away. And I don't care if you have GPS tracker on their phone. They're going to do it. Now, if he tells me he likes skiing and snowboarding, I'm going to tell you what else is sadly going to happen in his young life. He's going to get brokenhearted. He's going to fail a test. He's going to play the worst game of his life should he get the opportunity to play at that level. Let's hope it's not all on the same day, but those things are going to happen. And they are only going to spend so much time in a classroom. They're going to spend so much time on a field. They're going to have a lot more downtime than they realize. And it's not for 2 weeks or 2 months. It's for 4 years. They're going to go skiing and snowboarding. And sometimes that ski and the snowboard thing, the thing that they love and they got fired up about just a minute ago, that's going to be their release to overcome any of those obstacles. Do you want that trip to be 40 minutes to the mountain or 4 hours? Because they're going with or without you. I would think that if they thrive and they enjoy that environment, looking at the school 4 hours from here, up towards Syracuse, up toward the upper New England states, makes more sense than putting them down in Baltimore or, let's say, Delaware. Now flip that. You got the student who just told me they want to be in the warmer weather. I promise you that the spring in Baltimore starts sooner than the spring in Syracuse. And the fall lasts longer. So they are in an environment where they are just generally growing as people, where they really like their surroundings. Why are you going to take that kid that wants warmer weather and put them in a dorm room in central New Hampshire, where it is cold and miserable and dingy, and they're not going to go outside, and you know, you're the one that's going to get the phone call that's like, I just don't really like it here. You've got time to explore this. So, in his situation, where he's not really sure because he likes them both, then take the trip up to the mountains and take the trip down south. Because you have the time and the resources to do it. And you're going to start with a funnel this big, 7,000, 4 hours, the sciences, the English, and now the extracurriculars. We're finally at the part of the presentation that everybody was waiting for. But I'll tell you what, we're pretty pre-qualified, because I'll tell you what you don't need. You don't need one of these third-party BS solicitors that try to scare you into thinking that you got to give them $3,000 so they can find a place for your son or daughter to play in college. I call them sharks in tracksuits. And they call you, and they email you, and they try to make you think you need them. Every single person in this room, and that's why it's so disappointing that there aren't more people in this room, you are all very equipped to do this yourself. Yeah, you'll need a little bit of help. One of them's sitting right there. The other is down the hall in the guidance department. Okay? But you can do this on your own. And so, since you've already pre-qualified yourself and found exactly what these students want, you are now ready to take the step of being recruited. In my opinion, in my experience, the D2 school, the D3 school, we're using Oneonta, we're using Stonehill in our example thus far. They are not driving 4 hours on a Tuesday in April in 42-degree drizzle to watch you play a game. They're just not, okay? And part of that is because they've got their own season going on. Part of that is because that D2, D3 coach very, very rarely is full-time. If they're full-time, they work at the school. They're in charge of the rec center. They're the assistant athletic director. They're the equipment manager. They have a full-time job. It's just not lacrosse coach. It's not women's tennis coach. They are not full-time. Their assistants are definitely not full-time. They're overworked. They are underpaid. They are underappreciated. They don't have the resources. And I'm going to tell you, let's just say they send a graduate assistant down to come watch that game on a Tuesday. Sports, you are far more likely to fail than succeed in the world of sports. Thus, on that stage, in that game, the likelihood that you don't play the greatest game of your life in front of that college coach, you know, with the pressure and the nerves that they're coming down, if that's going to be their only impression of you as a player, and you don't play that well, I'm not so sure that I want to bet my college opportunity on that one game. And let's just play devil's advocate. You play really, really well. They're going to expect to see that again and again and again, especially if they're going to commit to you. So sometimes it's in our favor to not necessarily have that coach see us and make a judgment on such a small sample size. So how do we recruit ourselves? Well, what did I say I did for a living, guys? What's my full-time job? What's my real job? I'm an agent, okay? I am to represent my players. I am, yes, to get contracts and endorsements and kind of assist them, but my job is to represent them, speak on their behalf, in their best interest. And while I have a client roster of 100, including Yankee guys like Jordan Montgomery and Kyle Higashioka, even guys like Nick Nelson, you don't know who he is now, but he's going to be in the big leagues with you next year. I represent all those players, and I speak on their behalf. Well, I am no longer the only agent in this room. Every student athlete is now an agent, and you have a client roster of 1. Any idea who your client is, guys? It's yourself, man. And if you are not equipped to call a college coach, communicate with that coach, sell that coach on you, who you are as a player, who you are as a person, actually be able to have enough self-awareness to say what you don't do well and what you need to develop, because remember, these are coaches and they're there to coach and make you better, you're going to fail. You have to know your client. You have to be prepared to have that conversation. Not text them, not just email them. You're going to have to talk to them. So, this is the part where you recruit. You're recruiting yourself. You are making the call outbound. You are sending the email outbound. And when they don't call, if they don't email back, you're going to follow up again. They are overworked, underpaid, understaffed, and oh, by the way, they are running their own programs. And they're not looking like Alabama football 5 years down the road for 2023 commits. They are looking a year out to the seniors who are going to come in the next year. That's for the D2, D3 model. Why? Because every one of these student athletes told me that's where they want to play. And so for the D1 player, because I know where I am, we are in a lacrosse mecca. We know the kids from Yorktown, from Lakeland, probably even right here. The ones that get scholarship offers, their phones are ringing in 8th grade, 9th grade. If your phone's not ringing by the time you're a sophomore from that D1, inviting you up to come visit their campus, I don't care that the NCAA just changed the rules. They changed the rule for the official visit that the Division I school pays for. Not the one that they say to you as a 9th grader, would you like to come check out Maryland? Sure, okay. You pay your way here and I'll meet you at the door. Yeah, that's still allowed. If you're not getting those calls, you're probably not on the D1 radar, and that's okay, because I was a D2 player too. 97 to 99% of us are going to be in that D2, D3 conversation. And, as I promised you, I will put a rosy glow to this with a D1 opportunity at the end of it. You guys need to make that call. You guys have to sell yourself. It is not that hard to do the following. You already know where you want to go. Those BS solicitors, yeah, they are hounding these coaches. They are emailing them every day. That coach at Stonehill, Pat Bowen, he opens up his email box. There are 100 emails, 93 are from those companies. The 7 are legit emails. You're going to be one of the 7, because you're going to send that email to the coach. In the subject line, it's going to say, my voicemail, and you're going to write something out to them after you leave a message. And those third-party solicitors, those 93, I'm not saying they don't do their job. They're going to find a place for you to play. It's in Buffalo, 7 hours from here, with 12,000 students. They did their job. You signed them to find you a place to play. You paid them $3 grand. I found you a place to play. You don't want to go there? Too bad. No refunds. Buyer beware. This is real life. This is how it works. So, it's not that hard to say, hi, Coach Jones, this is Mark Leinweaver. I'm a junior at Yorktown High School in Yorktown, New York. And I'm calling today because my family and I are coming up to visit Stonehill College the week of November 17th. I'm a 3.1 GPA with a 1080 on my SATs. And I am the starting catcher on the varsity baseball team. I hit .310 last year with 4 homers and 17 RBIs. And I am interested in studying communications. I did a little research on Stonehill. I really am interested in going to school outside of Boston. It's about 3.5 hours from here. 2,500 seems to be the right fit for me. So again, my family and I are coming up the week of November 17th, and I just want to see if you have 10 or 15 minutes before or after your practice, after I take the campus tour at 1 o'clock, to meet with my family and I and talk a little bit about the opportunity. My cell phone number is, I look forward to hearing from you. Is that hard to do? Does that sound like a pre-qualified message to a coach? You told them who you are. You told them a little bit about your academics. You told them a little bit about your baseball stats or your sports stats. You told them why you're choosing Stonehill. So when he is flooded or she is flooded with 100 emails and 7 are from a student athlete who really wants to go see that school, that coach is going to call you back. And you are officially being recruited. Now, there's going to be a correspondence. Coach is going to say, great, let us know. Love to have you check out a practice, which, by the way, you need to get eyes on programs. I'm not saying you have to drive all the way to Stonehill. Drive down to Mercy College, because they're in a very similar Division II conference. Drive over to Rockland and go check out Dominican, because they're in a very similar Division III conference. Check out how big and fast and strong and smart those athletes are. They're not going to look that much different at Stonehill or at Oneonta. And you need to do an eye test and say, can I play at this level? Because it's not going to look a lot different, and it's certainly not going to be that much of a gap a year later. But that's how you get the conversation started. That coach is inevitably going to write back and say, sure, let's set something up. They're going to ask you for a video. They're going to say, hey, that's great, man. You know, send me some tape. You're going to send them a video. So now they know who you are. They know a little bit about why you want to go. You probably have the stats to get in. Mom and dad, you're looking at that school. You probably have the finances to pay for it. You are pre-qualified. They are looking forward to that meeting. You know what else they know? They know that you could choose between Stonehill, St. Anselm's, St. Mike's, Bentley, Merrimack. You could school 5, 6, 7 schools. It's a competition for your $250,000 for 4 years. Buyer's market. But this is the best. This is what's going to happen. You're going to go on that meeting. You're going to tour that campus, and one of two things is going to happen that day. The first thing that's going to happen is you're absolutely going to love it. This is 100% the school I could see myself at. 2, 3, 4 schools might fit that. But you are excited to be there, and you're excited for this meeting with the coach. That campus tour is from 1 to 3. The meeting with the coach is at 4. Or you're going to hate the school. You don't even want to stick around for the rest of the tour. But you're on the hook for this 4 o'clock meeting. Too often, too many people. Let me just send an email and get out of this. Make some fake excuse. Or you could just wear it. You could go. You could knock on the door and you could say, hey coach, listen, I just wanted to let you know that I just toured the campus, and while it's great for someone else, it's just not right for me. I appreciate your time and your willingness to sit down with me, but I just don't think Stonehill is going to be the right fit. I wish you the very best, and thanks again for taking the time. They're going to appreciate that. They're going to shake your hand. They're going to wish you the best. You might wind up at a school in their conference. You might wind up 2 years from now when you want to play summer travel and elite lacrosse at some big-time college that tours all over New England. Yeah, they might be one of the coaches. They'll remember how you handled that. There are 20 players on a team. 3 are studs. The other 17 all look the same. The level of athletic difference between those 17 kids is so minimal. How do you make the team? Were you the best practice player? Were you the kid that could show up 15 minutes early? Are you the one that the coach can text when they are stuck 15 minutes in traffic and say, get everybody on the field and get them stretched, because when I get there at 6:20, we're going to work? That might be what got you on the team. So when you go and you sit at that meeting, it's going to look like this. Chris, I'm so glad to hear that you like the campus. Beautiful campus. Love the fact that you like the sciences and the English. We've got one of the best labs and biology programs in the country. But here, listen, I saw your tape. I think you're a good-looking player. You go to Putt Valley, right? There's like 500, 600 students at that school. You know, I'm not too worried about where you play. But I can tell you that 500 students, you might not even make the varsity team at Arlington High that's got 4,000 students, let alone Stonehill. We're picking 4, 5, 6 freshmen from 7 different states in a region. So what I need to know is, what kind of person are you? What do you want to study here? When you're on the bench as a freshman, because you're probably not going to get a ton of playing time, but I'll get you in the game, what kind of teammate are you going to be? Are you the kind of person that's going to show up 15 minutes early or 15 minutes late? Are you going to be a problem at the end of the bench, making jokes, wisecracking? Are you the kind of kid that's going to have your cell phone on during my meeting, or are you going to put it away? When you're at a party with your buddies and you're up on a roof and somebody dares someone to jump into a pool, are you the kind of kid that's going to say, yeah, do it? Or are you going to be the one that goes, hey, hang on. this doesn't seem like a good idea. Let's shut this down and let's go to bed. That's what they're going to ask you. They're not going to care that you led the league in goals. They're not going to care that you were all league. They want to know who you are. Why? Because mom and dad, they're going to babysit your kid for a year to 4 years. And when their reputation's on the line, and we'll get to the social media part, but when their reputation is on the line based on who they are and character matters, they could easily take another kid who is less talented and less risk. That's what that conversation is going to look like. And if you as an agent can't sit across the table from the general manager and negotiate your deal, you're going to fail. And I promise you this, I don't care if some coach tells you, you are guaranteed to be on the team as a freshman because they saw you play at some showcase as a junior in high school. You are going to try out like everyone else. You are going to have to take the field for 6 weeks and try out like every other player. So you are not going to make the team in that meeting sitting across the coach in that 15 minutes after you took the campus tour. You're not going to make the team then. But if you don't answer those questions properly and you are not prepared, you can get cut from that team before you even leave the office. This is real life. This is how this process works. Nobody, I really believe, aside from myself, is going through this at this type of very calculated, these are X's and O's. It's still a buyer's market. On the website, which is at the bottom of your page, there are dozens of questions. What to ask the coach, what to be expected to be asked from a coach, financial questions, whatever. You know, and I was told I shouldn't say this, but sometimes the greatest form of flattery is thievery. And most of those questions I took from a college coach at Wesleyan. I look at his website and think, this is unbelievable. Cut and paste. Whoops. You know, send me a cease and desist. But the bottom line is, there's information there and you need to go. Prepare. So the next time, mom and dad, you're driving home from the game, we know the ball went through their legs, we know that they missed the shot at the buzzer. Instead of that being the conversation, how about asking some questions like this? Time's your enemy. All right, so I think everyone has a pretty good understanding about like where we are in terms of how we go and reach out to the coach. The student has to make that call. The student has to send that email. The student has to follow up 10 days later when they don't hear to the head coach, the associate head coach, the assistant coach, the graduate assistant coach. Don't assume this is the head coach's job. The head coach's job is to coach. They have assistants to deal with stuff like this. Reach out to all of them, especially if it's coming from the student. Man, oh man. In today's world where they cannot communicate, they are going to be challenged to have the conversation I just gave you. They cannot look someone in the face, maintain eye contact, and have a conversation about something that they are unfamiliar with. Shockingly, they're like Ernie Anastas if the screen's in front of them. They're locked in like a news anchor on Channel 4. Once you drop that, they're all over the place. Practice with them, because that's what it's going to look like. Okay, before I transition, any questions? Because we're probably 15 minutes left. No questions? Okay. So what I want is, Chris, come here for a second, please. Okay. I need you, please, to hand one of these out to everyone. Okay? While Chris is doing that, I'm going to run through some popular questions that I oftentimes overlook because they're not on the sheet in front of me. I'll tell you what, before I even do this, let's get the parents involved. All right. For the parents, read for me what A on your sheet says. I'm going to do this a little differently.
Financially investing in academics, 10% to class, tutor versus showcase, and club teams. Okay,
what does that mean? I already told you you're spending $10,000 over 3 or 4 years. We all know it. You don't have to admit it, but let's just call it 10 grand. This point was brought to me by an athletic director. I have to admit, a lot of points are conversations with college coaches, ADs, people on the pro side, certainly my own personal experience, but this one I will give 100% credit to an AD. I just kind of developed it beyond the one point. You got $10,000 that you're spending chasing a white whale unicorn called an athletic Division I scholarship. I'm challenging you to take 10% of that investment and putting it toward a tutor, toward the ACT, SAT prep class, whatever. Take that student from a 2.9 to a 3.3, a 3.4 to a 3.7, the 1080 to the 1310, the 23 to the 29 on the ACT. Take a $1,000 investment that is a 2 or 3 hour every other Saturday for 3 months. Instead of running off to the private instructor or the next showcase that's still going to get you to the same spot athletically, invest that in them. Why? Well, number one, I can argue that in a world where we're all sports fans and we see the biggest bonehead plays made by guys that make millions of dollars, and the first question is, how do you make that mistake? And the broadcaster says, that's a mental error. You mean to tell me that if you take that student and you go from a 2.9 to a 3.3, their aptitude doesn't increase, their ability, those ACT, SAT preps, the 1080 to the 1310? They're becoming smarter. Ball's in their hand, game's on the line. They're now smarter as people, young, developmental people. I'll put the ball in their hand, not to hit the shot. They're going to make the right play. Maybe the move is to pass. You are by default, indirectly, investing that money in education that might be making them a better athlete. That's one reason. The other reason is that college admissions individual looks at that transcript and sees this kid go from a 2.9 as a sophomore to a 3.4 as a senior. Whoa, while they're playing 2 sports and while they're volunteering in the community, we're going to give you a $7,500 academic scholarship. You just made $7,500. I mean, that's considerable money. $7,500 academic scholarship. So that's another reason. That's on a $1,000 investment, not a 10. The $9,000 you're still running around chasing that white whale Division I unicorn. So that's it. Can you read for me what B says?
Achieving academic merit versus athletic scholarship, all money is created equal.
Are there any other 9th graders than Ryan? Okay, right in front of Ryan. There's 10 dimes in my hand. And there's a $1 bill with George Washington's face on it in this hand. Do they have the same value?
No.
The 10 dimes make $1. And the $1 bill also makes $1. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. If we went to the 7-Eleven, do they still sell Yoo-hoo? Probably not for $1. But if we went to go buy something at the 7-Eleven with the $1, I get it. You're probably not coming up here and going like this, and then putting it in your pocket, and you get the cashier, and it's like somehow you only have 80 cents in there because you can't find it, right? You're going to take the $1. The 10 dimes is that academic scholarship. The $1, way sexier, right? I don't care if I said, if you had 100 singles or a $100 bill. This is the one that everybody wants. This is the one that nobody wants to carry around. This is where you're going to get your scholarship. So, academic money, the $7,500 I just found you on the $1,000 investment. I told you they have 3 responsibilities on the field, in the classroom, but in the community. You take these students and you spend 3 hours every other Saturday for 3 or 6 months and getting them into the community, special needs, underprivileged, rescued animals, whatever is, your thing. That's going to be a merit scholarship. Now for me, it's special needs. It's a no-brainer. Because the one thing about special needs kids is they didn't choose to be special needs. That wasn't their choice. But you know what? They love sports too. New York State has its own league through Special Olympics, unified, that if it's not this high school, there are plenty of organizations around this community that you can go volunteer for. And those special needs, teams, leagues, they don't need funding. Sure, they get plenty of people to stroke the $5,000 check to make themselves feel better so they can sleep at night and then they can, oh, by the way, get a tax deduction. Yeah, they need able-bodied student athletes like the ones in front of me to be teammates, to be coaches, to run the clock, to be the referee, to be involved. And I will tell you, whether it's that example or going into Peak Skill and volunteering in an organization like that with people that are far less fortunate, that might not be what we look like, how we act, where we're from, I have parents push back and say, I really don't want my son or daughter involved in something like that because that's going to make them feel uncomfortable. You're going to send a kid to a college 4 hours away with 7,000 strangers? You don't think they're going to be uncomfortable? You better get comfortable with being uncomfortable really quick. I don't see a better way to do that than right here in your own backyard. And oh, by the way, that college, they see you do that, they give you a $5,000 merit scholarship. I just found you $12,500. All for what? Not going to the next showcase or spending a little time with the instructor that you're overpaying? Your academics got better. You're involved in the community, you look like a heck of a person. You're going to go visit that college the fall of your senior year. You're going to check out the school, you're going to love it. You're going to meet the coach, you're going to say, I could play here. And then you're going to apply. You're not going to find out if you got in until January or February. And you might get a rejection letter. And for mom and dad, I don't think you're going to see anything more disheartening in their young lives than the kid who had the school and the program and his dreams or her dreams for the next 4 years set on that opportunity and find out that they got rejected. You could have done more. You could have gotten a tutor. You could have volunteered in the community. So A and B on that sheet, arguably, is more important than anything else. Let's get to C. Can you read for me C, please?
Getting cut doesn't mean collegiate athletic careers over volunteer for program.
Okay. There are going to be 25, 30, 35 players that are going to try out for a team. There's going to be 3, 4, 5 spots on the roster for freshmen. 2, 3 of those spots might not even be positions you play. And that is what the coach looks like. You're my guy, man. Let's go. You're the best girl I've seen out here. You're guaranteed a spot. Oh, really? Okay. So it's a 6-week tryout, and on day 4, you dive for a ball and you twist your knee. And you're unavailable for the rest of the tryout. And some kid from Ward Melville, who also is trying out and plays the same position, and there's one spot, goes absolutely gangbusters, plays out of their mind. And that roster is going to be posted on Columbus Day weekend. You haven't participated in 5.5 weeks. They blew it up during 6. Who's going to make that team? If you were the kid from Ward Melville, I think you'd expect to make that team. You were injured and unable to play. There was somebody that was a better fit. You know, for that non-scholarship, there's no guarantee, I don't have any money invested in you. Yeah, you're going to get cut. Or the coach brings everybody, hey, everybody get together. Got a little announcement to make. Just wanted to let you know, I think you guys are all great and I wish you the best, but I just took the associate head coach's job at Boston College. Today will be my last day. They are going to look for a new coach immediately. I was told that there will be a new tryout, and I wish you all the best. See you later. Yeah, that same coach that you were high-fiving with on the way back after that meeting, you know, the one that told you your spot was guaranteed. Yeah, they don't work here anymore. There's a new sheriff in town. That sheriff just don't like you. Or you don't jive with them. Well, see you later. The other one, I already referenced it. You're a 17 or an 18-year-old freshman. You're going to play against 20 and 21-year-old men. They're going to be bigger and faster and stronger and smarter than you. They are going to look to destroy you. And you just might take a huge poop down your leg because you are completely overmatched. You have never seen an athletic level of competition like this before. You're going to get cut because you are overmatched and not good enough. You are now in a position where you're out. So you have 2 choices as a student athlete. The first choice is to take your ball, go home, make excuses, blame everybody else, take 0 accountability, sadly, so much of our society today, and say, oh, I'll just come back in 11 months. Sure, you could do that. Or you could do this. Coach, you got a second? Listen, I know you just cut me, and I'm not here to fight your decision. I'm here to just tell you that I love this sport too much. It's part of my DNA. I just want to be involved. You want me to set up the cones of practice? You want me to do some administrative stuff like coordinating the travel trips? You want me to be the analytics guy because I'm here and I'm studying science and I probably have a pretty good way to help out the team against it? Whatever. That overworked, underpaid, understaffed coach is not turning down some eager beaver freshman who's willing to come in and volunteer. Show up at 4 o'clock tomorrow. I'll find something for you to do. You are now part of that team, albeit not as a rostered on-the-field player, but you're a part of the team. Thus, you're going to have friends by default. They're still your teammates. Mom and dad, these kids, they're going to have surrogate parents by default. They're called coaches. They're not just off in the wilderness with 7,000 strangers 4 hours from home, literally boo-hooing that I didn't make the team and it's everyone else's fault. you have an opportunity. And so you're around the program for a year. You're a part of the team. You're under the coach's wing. You come back to Putt Valley in the summer. You play summer ball, bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. You come back the next year as a sophomore and you say, Coach, I want to try out again. Absolutely, go for it, Chris. And that same kid who disappeared for 11 months, made excuses, no accountability, disappeared. Who's got the better chance of making the team? Player A, who was around the program, got bigger, got better, got faster, and comes back, or the kid that disappeared and made the excuses? That's player B. Who's making the team? I got to think it's A. I got to think it's A. And now, so you played for 3 years. You weren't going to play that much as a freshman anyway, I promise you. You didn't miss much. You know, you're not the one carrying all the equipment because you're technically staff. So don't think that getting cut from the team is the worst case scenario. I would even say on some of these meetings, in some of these interactions with the coaches, hey, I 100% expect to come in here and make your team. I have confidence. I went to a showcase and some school in Buffalo told me I could play for them. I think I'm going to be on your roster. But coach, let me ask you this worst doomsday scenario in which I don't make the team, is there an opportunity to just come work for the program? How about asking that on your trip? They'll tell you. And oh, by the way, they're going to remember. You might go to that school. Getting cut does not mean that it's over. All right, I can't make that clear. Okay, here are some of the quick points. Go measure your talent. You don't have to go to Stonehill or Oneonta. Go to Dominican and go to Mercy. What a coach might ask, we talked about that. All those questions are on the website. I'll also tell you that in order to do any of this, you need to fill out a questionnaire with the NCAA. If you want to play D2, they're going to charge you $100. It's free for D3, but you need to be registered with the NCAA in order to have any of these correspondence. All of that is a link on my website. I'll just play D2, D3. I think we kind of showed how hard it's going to be. Because, look, I'm a big believer that, yeah, all right, you know, you might have the less kind of athletic build player at the D1 level. The best way to answer the question of what a Division I, a Division II, and a Division III athlete looks like is go watch Marist basketball, go watch Mercy basketball, and go watch Dominican basketball. Field hockey, lacrosse, baseball. You will see the 6'5" point guard playing at Division III school. You will see the 6'10" guy at Marist. Oh, wow, 6'10", super athletic, and knock down a three. I figured he'd be at Duke. No, he's at Marist, or Siena, or St. Robert of Pennsylvania, or Robert Morris. The easiest way to answer a question like that is take a day trip. We're talking about schools that are within an hour. Go watch. But playing D2 and D3 is going to be hard. Do I need a video? You do need a video. What you don't need is some fancy set to like jazzy music with all of these graphics that is a 5 or 6 minute propaganda video that you spent $750 on. You need to take your iPhone and video yourself practicing and doing a drill in a 15 or a 30 or a 45-second clip. And don't leave it to chance and just assume this is what they want to see. You're already communicating with them. You went up, you sat down, you had that conversation, you sent them an email. They asked you, hey, do you have a video? Great. Response is, Coach, I could send you a video. What would you like to blank? What's blank? C. So Coach A versus Coach B from Coach C, all three different schools, they all might want to see something different. You have these phones, use them. You're going to spend a lot more time on a practice field than in a game setting. They are coaches, they are teachers, they want to teach, they want to help you develop, so they're going to probably want to see, not your highlight reel of when you think you did everything right, but fundamentally could have been everything wrong. They want to see what you're doing. 15, 30, 45 seconds, real time. You're emailing it directly to the coach. They could probably watch it from their phone. That's real life stuff. That is being recruited. Showcases. People think I'm anti-showcase. I'm not. I am. But I'm not if you look at it this way. You're going to pay for it. Everyone gets these letters. Oh, come to our camp. Okay. You know, for $400. So you go to the showcase. The first thing I would challenge anybody to do when invited to a showcase is the list of schools that are supposed to attend or not available, ask the administrator. Can you send me a list of the 20 schools you said should be there? We can't do that. No, okay, then I'll go to the other showcase the next weekend that can. You know, it's your money. Ask who's going to be there. The good ones will say, here's a list of the 20 schools expected to attend. Now, we know what we're looking for. 7,000, 4 hours, science, English, and in a little bit of a warmer climate. 20 schools. Don't just show up Saturday morning, do some research. Maybe 13 of those 20 do not fit your criteria. 7 do. Let's focus on the 7. Mom and dad, when they're out there on the field, on the court, in the pool, whatever, your job's not to watch them for the umpteenth time. Your job is to find the coach. Because the moment that event's over, it is like a track meet for these coaches to get to their cars. Get your son or your daughter, hey, there's the coach from Stonehill. There's the coach from Oneonta. There's the coach from Hood College. Go. And get that kid in front of that coach. Coach, I just wanted to introduce myself. I was number 31. My name's Mark. Stonehill's on my list. I'm going to reach out to you, but just wanted to put a face with a name. I would love to grab a card from you, send you my information, send you a video. You talk about the last hour and 10 minutes. You just accelerated this process and cut to the front of the line. That's real. And for these young men and women who do not have the ability to communicate one-on-one in front of that coach is going to be so impressed with just that interaction alone. I told you 17 of those kids. The athletic difference is so marginal, that might be what that coach remembers. It's not that tough. You might not get to all of them. Make your priority list. Rank them 1 through 7. That's taking advantage of a showcase. And I'm a big believer that, look, you're from, what, Westchester, Putnam, right? Okay, I get it. Go to a showcase in Maryland. Go to a showcase in New Hampshire. Go to a showcase in central Pennsylvania. You're doing a couple things. They all are about 4 hours. You may as well check out some schools while you're there, but you're going to see a very different athlete. You're not going to see the same kids from the 5 counties that I mentioned earlier. You're going to see athletes from different regions. That's what college is going to look like, and you're going to probably be more challenged. I love the idea that you're going to see athletes from other areas. I love the idea that most of these are on a college campus, so you can start seeing what a field looks like, what a campus looks like, and I really love the idea of the camaraderie with people that just aren't your own. I get it. You might be buddies with the kid from Carmel. Yeah, you got a chance to meet the girl from Dobbs Ferry. We're all the same. Getting a chance to hang out with the kid from Delaware or Manchester, New Hampshire, well, that's what your college teammate's going to look like. And you're competitive. That's where a showcase matters. And then I told you guys I'd put a rosy glow to this. So, let's do an exercise. And just everyone can contribute. We're looking for a college with a student body under how many?
7,000.
We're looking for a school within how many hours?
4.
We're looking for what type of majors?
Science.
And in English, thank you. We're looking for a school in what type of environment? Warmer, right? Not Miami Beach, but certainly where it's warmer than it is here, let's say in March or April. We know what we're looking for. We sat down, we spoke to a coach. We had the chance to truly fall in love with the school, get a chance to see where we get an opportunity to play, where we get an opportunity to grow as people. They're going to come into this school as 17 or 18-year-old adolescents. They're going to graduate as 21-year-old adults. That's what your 4 years and your $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 is really paying for, in my opinion. You get a call from a Division I coach your senior year. Hey Ryan, got an opportunity to stumble across your footage, made a couple of calls, called Mr. Burrow, and we just were notified that we had a decommit. We're going to offer you a scholarship, Division I. Oh, you did it. You got the D1 scholarship. Heck of a job, Ryan. It's at Central Connecticut State University. It's 65 miles from here. You can get there in an hour. That's not 4 hours. Their student body is 35,000 students. That is literally 5 times, and I'm not great at math, but I can figure out that's 5 times bigger than the school you want to go to. They're known for, great school for it, they're known for education. Elementary school, middle school, high school. It's not sciences. And they're in Hartford. You know, like when the snow and the weather goes through New York, and then it goes through Hartford, and then it goes to Boston? Yeah, that's not Delaware and D.C. where it's a little warmer. We're literally 0 for 4. But we got a quarter scholarship valued at $8,000. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we got a $7,500 academic scholarship and a $5,000 merit scholarship. I found you more scholarship money off the bottom line than that school. And that school that is offering you less money and fits none of our criteria is on a year-to-year, what have you done for me lately business. And while I already believe that playing at the D2, D3 level is a full-time job, let me show you what that's going to look like. You're going to get up at 5:30 in the morning, you're going to practice at 5:45, you're going to be done at 8, you're going to have a class from 8:30 to 10, you're going to have a class from 10:30 to noon, you're going to have a class from 12:30 to 2. You're going to get back in to do your running and your lifting at 4, that's going to end at 5:30. You're going to go eat, you're going to do homework, you're going to play Fortnite, you're going to Snapchat, you're going to have friends, you know, whatever you guys are going to do, and you're going to go to sleep, and you're going to do that 6 days a week for 6 weeks, and then your season's going to start, and you're going to play 40 games in 50 days. That's at the worst Division III school in the country. So if they're paying you to be there, yeah, it's not going to be a 2.5-hour ride to your opponent's school. It's going to be a flight. You're not going to miss 5 hours. You're going to miss maybe 5 days because they're not going to go to Baltimore and they're going to just play against UMBC and Loyola on 2 different trips. They're going to be there for 6 days. That's at the D1, but you know what? It's also at that D3 level. And when you're trying to keep up with your studies because you're taking bio and you're taking chem, and you know you aren't getting a whole lot of playing time, and it's just maybe not what you thought it was going to be, you're going to wake up and say, you know what? I'm on the right campus for the right reason because I really paid attention to the first 4 parts of this presentation. And in my opinion, under no circumstance should any one of you be going to Division I Central Connecticut State based on what you all told me. But you earned the scholarship, so congratulations. It shouldn't just be about earning a Division I scholarship. That could happen. I would hope everybody in this room is going to the school that we found the right profile for. All right, so you're all holding some photos in your hand. Let's get to that. And then we're done, I promise. I have to tell Mr. Burrow that it's only 60 minutes, but it's really 75, and arguably as much as 90. So we're down the home stretch. Okay, I'll start with this. This isn't a phone, okay? It's not a phone. I'll tell you what it is. When you look at that photo, and you really, really drill down as to who that kid is, I want every one of these student athletes to tell me how that kid would get described if he were walking down these halls. I'm not saying you would say it, the kid 3 lockers down, you're on the practice field, you know, the wise guy teammate of yours. How would that kid physically get described if they were walking down the hallways of Hub Valley? Shout it out. This is not the time to be shy. You guys have been great and interactive. There's no wrong answer. Don't be worried that your mom or your dad are sitting to you. Tell me, be honest. How would that kid get described by another student in this building?
Chungus.
Fat. What else?
Chungus.
Yeah, chungus, I guess, is a term. So you got this fat chungus kid. What else? Keep it coming. I want you guys to do this. This is real. Tell me. Keep it coming. Unathletic. Fat chungus, unathletic. Is he cool? Is he hip? He's a dork. So let's just go with the fat chungus, unathletic dork. Right? That's how we're going to describe this kid. Listen, it would be hard in today's world, it would be hard 30 years ago to argue that. The sad part is, boy, girl, doesn't matter. That kid in these hallways hears that stuff every single day. There's no escape. They hear it in this school, they hear it in every high school in the country. Sadly, they're starting to hear it in middle school. It's getting all the way down to where that kid, boy or girl, hears that in the elementary school. It is impossible to avoid. It is not name-calling. It is not just having fun. It's called bullying. That's bullying. And when I tell you that 30 years ago, if the kid hears any of that, they could probably deal with the bully one-on-one, get some friends, get an older brother or sister, maybe a parent, teacher, whatever. And maybe the bullying has a better chance of going away because it was right here. Not anymore. You know why? Because that bully doesn't exist in person anymore. That bully exists right here. That bully is on a phone. That bully is on text. That bully is on Instagram. That bully is on Twitter. That bully is on Snapchat. That bully is on Facebook. That bully is right here. Selfless, ruthless. And that bully is forcing kids who hear fat, chungus, dork, geek that bully is making the most ultimate of decisions and choosing to make the bullying go away, watch the first seasons of 13 Reasons Why. You don't have to watch that show. Turn on the news. Read the paper. It's every day all across America. Why? Because these kids are being bullied. You think this is a phone? That is a weapon. And I'll tell you why it's a weapon. That right there, that's causing that kid to make those types of decisions because he or she is bullied. That's a weapon because that's the gun. That's the torch. That's the knife. It's leading them to a cause of action. And when I tell you that if you think that the innocent text, the innocent picture of the half-naked girl, the kid that gets pantsed in front of everyone and it goes viral, and it's a big group text and your name's on it, you think that's a joke? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The knock on the door is not going to come from mom and dad. It's not going to be the AD. It's not going to be the principal. It's going to be the police. You know why? Because that picture of the underage girl, child pornography. Have fun getting through life as a registered sex offender. If you want to see your college dreams go away in a heartbeat, you're not going to any school. Good luck getting into the school because you thought it was funny on the prank of let's get this out there. That's real. That call is going to come from the police. And if you think at the worst Division III program in America that coach isn't going to scrub and vet your social media, see what you post online, what you write, oh, it was just me quoting some rap lyric. Really? Decided to drop an N-bomb, huh? Yeah, see you later. You're a racist. It's real. It's a weapon. And you're holding it every single day. You don't think this is real life, real world? I promise you, it is. I don't care if you're on the thread and didn't say a word. You are guilty by association, and you're getting that knock on the door, and you're sitting at the police station. This is real. And the sad part about this kid, that one in your hands, who is getting bullied, that is hearing that, you guys just told me you're here to play in college. You're student athletes. You're leaders on the field. Your jobs is to protect the kid being bullied. It is not hard to walk down the hallway, not hard to sit in the cafeteria or invite him or her out. Your job is to ensure that that kid doesn't get bullied. That's your job as a leader. Your job. And let me just warn you something now, because you all want to play in college. There is something called karma. When you are on that college campus with 7,000 strangers, 4 hours from home, and you're the freshman competing against 20 and 21-year-old men and women, juniors and seniors, they are going to tease you, they are going to haze you, they are going to bully you. It's a fact. And when you sit there and lay in bed sobbing, wondering why this is happening, what did you do to deserve this? Maybe you should have thought about how you treated people in this building and in this community. It's karma. And I am incredibly aware that, unfortunately, the kid that's being bullied isn't always the non-athlete. Sometimes the kid being bullied is the athlete. He's on the team. The fat, chungus, dork, unathletic kid is on the team. And the reason I know that that kid, all the things we just described him as, is on that team is because that individual I brought here tonight. He's not standing out there, and he's not back there. He's talking to you. Yeah, I'm the fat, chungus, dork, geek. You know, the unathletic kid who was, and I wish Cosmo was here, the best baseball player in his grade, who went on to play 4 years at a Division II school, became team captain, and 20 years later represents 3 Major League All-Stars? Yeah, that kid. I get it. There's 2 things a bully can't get through, just like your opponent. Courage and confidence. You go up against a player whose courage and confidence is just screaming out of their uniform, good luck going up against them. No different than the bully. You all do something well. Figure it out. It is inside you. We all have a gift. Figure it out. Harness it. Cherish it. Develop it. Make it your Teflon. The bully can't fight through it. The bully cannot penetrate it. I promise you. Who you are today, what the bully is saying you are, what he's claiming or she's claiming you must be, I'm living proof it's not the case. As a group, And mom and dad, hear me when I say, sadly, we all think the kids are the best and nobody does anything wrong. Some of this might be going under your nose, under your roof. You have to be aware. As a group, student athlete, parent, teacher, administrator, whomever. We have to make sure we are not part of this problem, but rather collectively part of the solution. I'm done. Thank you. I will stick around. I know we went a little late. The only thing keeping me between here and home is 3 slices of pizza. It's not the same in Cali. But I'm happy to answer any questions, and if you guys want to go, I'll stick around till the last question's asked. All right? So, and I will say one other thing. I already got a phone call today. The web address at the bottom, that is a way to my phone and my email. If you want to touch base with me, you want to talk one-on-one, hey, I got this situation. I got a parent to call me today from Long Island and talk about her. Look, I travel 7 months of the year. If you've ever seen Jerry Maguire, yeah, that guy doesn't exist. I'm like Bob Sugar. That's a lot more like the movie. Okay, so I travel 7 months a year. I go from here to Nebraska to Kentucky before I get to go home. A lot of downtime to respond to emails and calls. So I'm happy to do that, but happy to also talk one-on-one up here. All right, thanks again. Drive safe.